course I haven't forgotten you, dear Shakers. But needs must. The GCSE English language exam is incredibly soon, and question 4 is the hardest. I'm going to help you check that you know exactly what you need to do for this question and give you some last minute practice. Stay tuned on Shakespeare's birthday and watch Schofield on Shakespeare.
Abbiamo il cuore a strisce, portaci dove vuoi.
Let's recap the basics. What does all of this mean in plain English? Thank God for Schofield's top tips. The introduction helps you contextualise each text. Make sure you start each paragraph by actually answering the question. Weave in quotations early within each main paragraph. This helps you show the examiner you've got a detailed understanding of the text. AO2 is not assessed, unlike for question 3. However, you may want to pick out details if it results in a more detailed, nuanced argument. You can't have one paragraph on one text and a separate paragraph on the other. I would suggest comparing around every 3 sentences. It's a good idea to come back to the question at the end of each main paragraph, possibly saying about which text fits the statement even better. Come on then, final practice. These texts have been taken from the June 2022 AQA GCSE English Language Paper 2 and adapted. It might be easier for you if you download the inserts directly from their website. Within Google, AQA GCSE English Language Paper 2 June 2022 inserts. Click on the first link, Inserts: Paper 2 Writers, Viewpoints and Perspectives. And then, hey presto, here it is. Alternatively, the extracts will appear within chunks now in this video within 5-second intervals. Pause on each side if you would prefer to read them this way. Now for the question. Both texts powerfully suggest that camping can be a miserable experience. How far do you agree with this statement? So how far do you agree? Depending on your confidence with this question, you might want to launch immediately into briefly annotating your extract before producing your response, remembering that you're looking to produce around 600 words in around 30 minutes. Or you might prefer to mull over my more detailed annotations. Now, you wouldn't have time to make these in the exam, but doing this for practice questions can ensure that you nail exam technique. So my detailed annotations will appear at 5-second intervals now. Press pause on them if you want to scrutinise. Anyway, chums, if you haven't written this response yet, now's the time. Remember Schofield's top tips. And pen a delicious 600-word response to the question about whether both texts powerfully suggest that camping can be a miserable experience. The texts are about to reappear at 3-second intervals. Good luck, and my God, get started. How did you get on? Produce a wonderful question for jam-packed with detailed evaluation and plenty of comparative points. Time now for my model response. Source A is an account of a camping holiday in France in which the author complains bitterly about family holidays in general, particularly camping in terrible weather. Source B is an account of camping in the 19th century, in which the author laments the destruction to nature caused by building a campsite and shelter. Particularly due to the rainy weather, both texts do suggest that camping can be miserable, although for different reasons. Text A uses hyperbolic imagery to suggest that holidays, including camping, can be extremely unpleasant. She writes that holidays were in the hands of malevolent forces, were assault courses of the mind and body. This suggests in a humorous, over-the-top way that children can feel powerless during camping holidays, and that both the physical and the mental experience can be taxing. There is no such melodramatic imagery in text B, and indeed the return to primitive conditions is seen as a positive part of camping, for some at least. People get closer to nature and closer to the beautiful babbling stream that flows close at hand. Nonetheless, text A does emphasise the appalling impact of bad weather on a camping trip. She writes, the rain was slashing down, and the relentless battering against the tent canvas was loud and frightening. The use of the verbs slash and batter suggests the savage power of the rain, and by extension how vulnerable you are when camping out in the open. The campers in text B also feel miserable due to the rain, although they are less affected due to the fact that they are sleeping in a shelter made of wood rather than a tent. At night, the rain continues to soak down, the bedding is damp, and only a few can sleep. However, the campers in text B do not appear to be frightened in the same way as the family in text A, and so it could be argued that in this respect, text A more powerfully suggests that camping can be a miserable experience. Both texts point to the lack of personal space when camping, and thus suggest that camping can be somewhat miserable. In text A, the family have to sit huddled together, knees against their chests, and similarly in text B, the writer uses the metaphor of the world only being 10 feet square, thus suggesting a feeling of claustrophobic entrapment. However, text A ends with a reference to the writer feeling something deliciously spine-tingling about being trapped inside the tent, which suggests that she doesn't just feel a bit miserable, but also some excitement at being accosted by the natural elements. There is no such excitement towards the end of text B, which chooses to focus on man wronging nature through the destructive act of camping. Therefore, overall, my sense is that text B more powerfully suggests that camping could be an utterly miserable, unnatural experience. What makes this an 18 out of 18 delight? Well, the first sentence of each main paragraph focuses sharply on the question. But note that I don't keep on limply repeating the adjective miserable. No, here I've used the synonym unpleasant instead. Cunning. Quotations are seamlessly embedded and not unnecessarily long. And my comparisons are specific. I don't just write similarly, comma, or both texts followed by a rather vague general point. Here, I point out that the campers feel rather dampened, pun intended, by the rain in both texts, but there is an argument that they are less affected in text B because the shelter is better. It's worth thinking about quantity of quotations. Remember, you are asked to comment on the text as a whole, not just a couple of important moments in each. There is a difference. Remember also the principle of comparative evaluation, which text, in this case, more powerfully suggests that camping can be a miserable experience and why. Caught red-handed. Happy birthday, Shakers, and good luck for your GCSE English language exam. I hope this video has been helpful.